We've all had times when our browser looks like this. Lots and lots and lots of tabs open because, I don't want to close anything, so I can't find it again, but I also can't see what each tab is. I end up spending time clicking on each one until I can find the one that I'm actually looking for. Have no fear though, I have a couple of options to help. Option one is to create what's called tab groups. Amongst my tabs I have open, I have some that are related to my planning, some that are STEAM resources, and some that are just plain old recipes that I've been looking up. When I hover over a tab and I right mouse click or two finger tap on my mouse pad, I have the option to add the tab to a group. Now, I've got some groups already running in my Chrome, but I want to create a new group. I'm going to call this planning. You'll see that then a little like header tab appears next to the one I'm working in. And I'm going to choose a color for this particular group of tabs. So I've now got this website that I'm looking at with my planning is underneath the planning tab. Now this one here is a NZ Maths, so I want to add that one to that same group. So again, I right mouse click or two finger tap, and I can then add that to my planning group. Another way I can do it is I can click and hold the tab and slide it across. This is a top tip. If you've got tabs you want to sit next to each other, you can click and drag them so they sit next to each other. And you'll see that the colour of that tab group is now starting to appear around each of those tabs as I bring them across the group. Now, so far it hasn't made any difference about what's happening across the top of my screen, but the magic will happen soon. I'm just going to add a few more of these across here. I'm going to make another group tab in just a moment. I'm going to call this one My Stuff, because there's things like the news and bits and pieces, and my recipes can go in here. So I'm going to call this My Stuff. I'm going to make this one blue. I'm going to put things that are related to my stuff under this tab here. I've also got some things here which I call my sandpit group. This is where I'm playing around with different things as I'm finding out about them online. So I'll just add these to my sandpit group. And like I say, it doesn't make too much of a difference at the moment to my number of tabs, but here's where the magic happens. Now when I click on planning, all of those tabs will reduce down and be sitting underneath that title tab. The same thing happens with my stuff. The same thing happens with Sandpit. I've got here some things that are to do with my admin. So let's make that one green. I'm going to put these across under admin. Let's make that the first one of those. YouTube can slide across here under my stuff. Just make sure that the tab group is open when you go to add a tab to it. So now I can start to see a little bit easier what the different tabs are that I've got here. And it also keeps it a little bit tidier across the top. So as you can see, I don't have to have all of my tabs in tab groups. I can still have them separate. I can pick up an entire tab group and move that across. So if I wanted to have all of my tab groups at the start of my tabs across here, I could. Now another thing I can do to make it easier to work out what each of these little tabs are, at the moment when I scroll over them, I get sort of a summary of what the website is, but it still doesn't really give me an idea, especially when I come down to my forms I've got here. If I haven't named them well, we all know the times we have the untitled presentation, I can't actually still tell what is what. If I open a new tab and go to Chrome, //flags. This is part of Chrome where there are experimental features. There are things that haven't been released for general use across Chrome, but there are some quite useful things in here that people have created and are open for you to experiment with in your Chrome usage. One that's really useful is this one called Tab Hover Card Images. What happens with this when it's enabled is that when I roll over a tab, it will actually show me a small thumbnail of what that file or what that tab actually is, so I can find things a little bit more quickly. Now, to be able to use flags, your organisation will need to, through the admin panel, have this enabled, so that then you can even add these. And then you'll either be able to enable them across the whole organisation, or you can enable it just for individual users. Once I've enabled it, I will need to relaunch Chrome. Now that I've relaunched Chrome, when I put my mouse over a tab, you'll see that instead of just seeing the name and the web address of that tab, it will also give me a small thumbnail of what it actually looks like. So if you're visual like me, this can sometimes help you to find what you're looking for, especially if you can't remember what you've called a particular file, or if you can't remember which particular site has what you're looking for. So just a handy little thing to help you in your navigating of the many tabs that we have open. So just as a summary, we've got either tab groups that can then reduce the appearance of the number of tabs you have open, and then also having hover tab cards.